I was waiting for you. I had 2 vodka balls.
What the fuck?
I'm sitting here having a sad moment with Brian about like at ALA I had 2 vodka balls in my hand and you weren't there.
I
You
was
weren't there, Brian.
tired. I'm sorry.
Oh, I have a special flavor tech.
Oh my god. Yeah, well anyways, hey everybody! How's it
Jesus
going,
Christ.
guys?
You just let it hang there for like a minute.
Well, look, you were the one who did it without warning.
So, I think before we go anywhere, it should be very obvious that Brian is drinking. Drunk in progress. But no, in all seriousness, spoilers ahead. RWBY Volume 7, Episode 11.
Listen, Tina, it's part of the process. You don't just come in here and change the fucking process.
I'm designating spoilers right at the start.
It should also be noted that Beau is drunk.
Yeah.
I don't have an icon. I'm just actually Tina. Awesome. Can I just be actually Tina over the whole screen?
Yeah, so in any case, welcome everybody. I am not drunk yet. Working on it.
Getting there.
What is your name, by the way?
My name is
Smart
Brian
ass.
with an I. A lot of people don't know that.
Hi.
A lot of people spell it with a Y. It's not. That's not the right way. Don't do it that way. But hey, we're talking about. Oh, that says episode 11. I saw 2. I thought it was like Roman numerals and it was
Brian, how drunk are you? You just started.
I literally just took 1 sip. What the
Wow.
fuck?
You featherweight.
It's gonna be a good night.
Look, it's been a very long time.
Fair enough.
But yeah, we were talking about RWBY Volume 7, Episode 11, Gravity.
Now, it would probably be a good idea to say who everybody is.
Oh,
actually-
we're a mess tonight, guys.
Yeah. How am I the one
Okay.
reminding you about this? Hi, my name is Ian. If you put BR in front of my name, you get Brian. Somehow, for whatever reason, I don't have access to alcohol right now, but I wish I did.
Are you like 3/5 of Brian?
Why
Yeah.
are you so quiet?
Look.
Oh, hang on.
Anyways, Forrest, who are you?
I'm the not drunk. Well, one of the not drunk people.
He's our designated driver.
Yes, I'm also here.
No, he's not the designated. Forrest is our designated adult.
Fair enough.
Oh well, that's
Fair enough. Good luck, Forrest.
Beau, who are you?
I'm Beau. With a B. The EAU is silent. Fucking I voice Winter and Ilya for the abridged.
Oh shit, that's right. We do stuff.
I'm also
Other than
the
drink,
lead
yeah.
of the VR shorts. I am a director there. I'm also a writer. I host the other podcast we have called Perpetually Ajar. We've got an episode coming out on Tuesday, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. And that's all I got.
And you're
I'm
drunk.
sorry. I'm sorry, Beau. You're still so drunk, and I drank way more than you.
Well, I started drinking again. So.
Hold on, I need to go back and solidify my position on the project. Hi, I'm Brian. I do the audio things. I'm also the voice of Neptune. Fuck yeah! All
And
right,
our resident
Tina.
lead
Brian
for
is already
announcements.
drunk. This is gonna be a babysitting episode. I hope you guys are ready for some fun. Hi, my name is Tina. As you guys know, on my stream like an hour ago, I was definitely not sober, so now I'm sadly sober. I am the voice of RWBY on our fun little shenanigan project we have. I also voice Emerald. I do a lot of coordination poop, and that's my job. So yeah.
Coordination. Poop.
You run the whole goddamn thing.
Shit. Got it.
Poop coordinate.
I guess that's a thing.
Where the fuck did my Taco Bell go?
Wow, that is the most pressing issue right now.
Oh my god.
Can we talk about
The episode?
Yeah, so
The
all
topic
right.
at hand?
Quick rundown. We are talking about RWBY Volume 7, Episode 11, not 2. Those are not Roman numerals. It says
No.
11. The episode's title is Gravity. This episode is only out for first members, so if you are not a first member and you care about spoilers,
Go
fuck
away.
Wow.
Wow.
Spoiler.
Spoilers. There.
So- You know,
I just want to say, hang on. I want to say the title of this episode, I like, because
Yes.
it's like a triple entendre. It's like a pun, but 3 times. That's good.
it's
triple
It's very
entendre.
good. It's a triple entendre. And I like
Okay.
it. Okay, I'm done.
Oh shit! You were the one who put. I was gonna post the live link, but you beat me to it because
I
forgot.
did. I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm gonna be the one to do it.
Listen, I was somehow sober enough, long enough to remember that the information hadn't been updated, and I updated.
Also,
it.
we have. Oh my god!
Wonton, thank you for the super
Also,
chat.
we seem to have way more viewers right now. I'm sure it has nothing to do with the fact that we're drunk.
Oh,
We
yeah.
haven't advertised anything, so
it's
No, not at all.
it's almost like we have the head of KRWBY Productions here.
I don't know what you're talking about. Obviously, I need more alcohol for this situation.
Yeah. Have another drink.
anyways, this episode. Can we
Bruh.
talk about this music though?
So
Yes.
Yes.
I could talk forever about this episode. I was just rewatching it before we got into this call, and right at the very beginning, we have the fight going on with Ironwood and Watts, but I just love the sound design this episode. Like, I didn't really notice it till I watched it this go around, and like all the fun little noises and things that are going on. Thank you, Manly Torchic. And I don't know, like it just blew me away. I want to talk about the later part, but I'm gonna wait till we get there because I don't want to jump way ahead of the gun.
This is
But-
fair.
Yeah, because I definitely want to talk about the Salem Ruby stuff because
There's some
Nut.
good sound design there.
Yup.
I have to say, just the opening.
What do you have
itself
to
for
say,
this-
Ian?
Yes,
Please
I do.
tell me
Yes,
what you
gladly.
have to say.
If you'll stop talking,
No.
then I'll just have to talk over you. God damn it! Don't think I won't. The opening here has really
You
grown on me.
underestimate my loudness, Ian. I've been told
The
I'm a
opening
gut
here is,
screamer!
Moving on. I went from being like kind of meh on this opening to, wow, this opening is really great, and then we go into the song for Ironwood and Watts, and it's just, oh,
it's like
going
it's
here.
like a rock rendition of the Atlas or the fucking the Atlas theme, right?
I think James was saying that it was Caleb Hiles, if I was correct.
Oh,
Yep,
yeah,
that
the
is
the
he's
singer, but like
He's a fan singer.
the very beginning of it is the da 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 da, like it's literally the Atlas intro.
Mhm.
I
I
didn't catch that, but makes
I have to
sense.
I really liked how as soon as he gets that point where he's about to fall, springs himself back up, cue the music, and it's just right into this battle, and it was so just intense. And just the progression, how it goes. I don't know if you guys watched in the very end, but it shows you like how the battle's supposed to play out through the
Mhm.
whole arena, and it shows you how it's all charted out and where they're supposed to boing boing, where they're bouncing around, stuff like that.
Yeah. The concept
But
that was
it-
really cool, actually.
I have to
Where
say,
they're
I really
supposed to boing boing.
okay, but like, hear me out. You know how difficult it is to do shots like that, where you have such dynamic shots going back and forth. You're trying to keep that perception, that illusion of movement, of that continual, bouncing around the arena. And it felt like that to me. It felt like, because obviously they're shifting directions because of the gravity platforms, but to still be able to do all that, come full center, and have this beautifully timed event. Like, kudos to the storyboard artist and the animators for making that shit happen. It seems so flawless to me. And I'm avidly looking for points where I'm like, okay, this seemed odd, this seemed out of place. The only thing I didn't like is how Ironwood kept putting his guns up. However, every time he did, it made sense. He puts them up to punch Watts, pulls them back out when he needs to. But I don't know. It's the only thing that I think I noticed that I didn't care for too much. But that's like
It's-
such a small, dumb detail.
Mhm.
It's
Volume
like
7.
that. It's like that school of Japanese sword fighting where you put the sword back in the sheath every time. It's like only with guns. Like
Ironwood's
I
like,
don't know.
I'm gonna mess you up without even having to use the guns. Like I use them, but then I put them back because I'm like, I'm not a little bitch. So
See, I was a little disappointed that they didn't have like, I don't know, because like everything in this universe, right? It's also a gun, right? Is like a gun, but also a sword or something. I was a little disappointed that they didn't have like some giant bayonet come out of like Ironwood's gun at some point.
It's also a sword.
It's also a sword, you know. But I think just having them like punch each other in the face that worked too.
Honestly,
So-
this fight scene really cemented something that I did not expect to see happen. Is where I stopped looking for what Monty could have done better for the action scenes.
I never look at the shows like that. I always look at it as that's what it was. This is what it is now. I don't think of it what it could be. I see it for what it is. And if there's some sort of technical flaw, I might go, okay, that I noticed that. Like Lyren, when Nora goes Thunder Thighs, his hair sticks straight out. It's not animated. But those are like such technical things. And I really think the fight choreography has come such a long way from Volume 4 specifically all the way until now. There's really good posturing and posing. As somebody who took martial arts, there's a lot of things that I pay attention to with posturing. And nothing really seemed to stand out too much for me. Ironwood kept a good stance a lot of the time, even when he's charging them. And I really think they did their research and they've really improved.
See,
Yeah,
I'm-
I do have to kind of respond here, Tina. I meant no insult to the animation team. It's just that I'm bloodthirsty. I like seeing my action. I miss the way Monty would animate his scenes, and I'm continuing to look for that again, that spark. So just like for a few minutes here when I was watching this episode, I didn't feel like I wish Monty could have been here for this. It was just this is incredible. I'm no longer looking for that.
So I'm gonna have to.
I
I want to jump in and say something.
Go ahead.
Trying
Denied.
to talk for like 2 goddamn minutes.
Denied.
All right. So as far as the fight animation is concerned, because that is definitely something about this season that I shouldn't say animation because the animation's great. The fight choreography is something that I feel like unfortunately has been a step down from Volume 6. In Volume 6, we had all of these really high octane fights, and Volume 6 was the first time in a long time that I got to that point where I felt like, man, like this actually feels kind of Monty, you know?
So I was gonna say, and I agree with you. The Adam fight and this fight felt really Monty to me, to be honest.
This one did not feel Monty to me. What had and the reason why is because, and it was what a lot of people were complaining about back in Volume 4 and 5, which is that it was a very cinematic fight. It was very slow. Now that doesn't mean it was bad by any means, but I think all of us in the RWBY community are kind of spoiled by Monty's fight choreography and his fight animation, and so it's we're kind of what Ian was saying. We're constantly looking for what could be.
I do want to say that there's only so much that you can do when both these motherfuckers are literally just using a gun.
I agree. No, I agree with that. And they did have some cool stuff. Honestly, the first fight from this season, which we'll talk about a little later, that I felt was a little bit more in the vein of what we were getting back in Volume 6 and what we were getting from Monty, was actually the fight with Tyrion.
Yeah, I was gonna say
I
that
liked
one.
that fight.
The fluidity of that fight,
Yeah.
really sold it for me. I think
Mhm.
this fight. I think honestly, the opening of this fight is probably as I'm like watching it again here, is like my favorite bit, where Ironwood, Watts points the gun at him. Ironwood points his gun behind him, which is kind of weird in a gunfight. And you're like, why is wouldn't he point it at Watts? And then he like leaps into the air with it, bounces off the wall, and like punches him. And it's just like that opening shot was.
I think he's
really
not
good.
trying to shoot and kill Watts. I think he really wants to kill him with his own bare hands, if that makes sense. He's so
To beat him
done
to a
with
pulp.
this guy. He's so frustrated with him, but he wants to. He's. I feel like he's crossed the point of no return. and
this-
he's
No,
kind
there's
of
a
I
mentally
wouldn't
desperation.
say this fight with Watts, he hasn't snapped yet. It's after the fight is when he snapped.
Oh
It's
no,
at
I
the-
think he snapped
No,
before
I think it's
when
the
Oscar
fight.
talked to him.
Like,
Well,
I think when Oscar spoke to him, that's when he snapped because he found out they were lying to them. Obviously, Robin knew about the communications tower. The trust was a big issue with him that we see later on, where that was a
Yeah.
big turning point. And so, even to the point where Watts thinks, "Oh, okay, cool, I got you trapped," and he's like, "No, fuck it, I'll sacrifice my own arm just to drop you off the edge of this arena." And that's exactly what he does. So I think he was already at his limit at this point, and he would do what it takes, as he says, to stop her.
well, and I really want to talk about that too, because not only, so first of all, like, choreography aside and not necessarily feeling super Monty, it was still a great fight. And there was a lot of really cool stuff that was happening in there. And Ironwood's arm gets fucked.
Yeah.
He's gonna need another robotic arm for that.
Yeah, honestly, like, I was surprised. Like, if I would have thought, like, my logical brain would have thought that, like, if you got your arm stuck in one of those things, it wouldn't get stuck; it'd just get chopped off.
So,
but apparently not.
Lightsaber logic, yeah.
So talking about Watts, though, I'm curious. Do you guys think he's dead, or do
No.
you not? Obviously, we're at this point in the RWBY universe. Don't confirm there, and I think any fandom, they're not dead until you see a body. Obviously, the last moment we see is him being held over that ledge. He spits the tooth out, and obviously we cut to the next scene. I don't know. I think he's dead. I think Ironwood went that far.
No, I don't think he's. I don't think he's dead.
I know we believe in no body, no death, but he literally probably got yeeted in the lava. Like, there probably isn't a body to confirm the death.
I know, but we didn't see him get yeeted into the lava.
Yeah, that's
And that's
see,
fair, because they did with Adam dying. They show him falling to the ground, snapping his neck or back or whatever.
This,
Yeah,
the
they made
sound of his head
sure-
cracking on the rock. Yeah,
They made sure to
made
really
him
make
dead.
sure that he was dead, and to establish for everybody that he was dead. They did with Watts, so I don't think he's dead. Now, with that said, though, I want to talk about something that Watts says that comes into play later, right? Because James, like, Ironwood has been saying repeatedly, like, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to beat Salem. I'm gonna do whatever it takes, and he says. And in this fight with Watts, the last thing that he says to Watts is, "I will sacrifice whatever it takes." And Watts responds with, "I hope you do, James."
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's playing right into their oh wait.
And then we see, down the line, we'll see that's exactly what was at play here. It was all, he thought he was being smart with his setup, but really it was a setup even for him all along. It was like the no you card. Watts slapped it down before he got eaten, deleted.
Yeah.
But
Ironwood has this bad habit of like, oh, she's always 2 steps ahead of us, so I'm gonna be smart and do this. And it's just like you're just
You're
okay.
being so obvious, my dude.
so we have that play out, and then next we're seeing Robin run up and say, "Okay, you guys go, I'm gonna go by myself because that's a smart idea." And Tyrion's like, "Fuck yeah, this
Well,
is
that's
my
last episode, but
Yeah. Well, that's the setup to.
Well,
to
no.
this.
I'm talking about when he's sitting on the ledge when Robin's like, "Okay, you guys go." When it cuts to her before Crow and Clover drop in, and he's like, "Oh shit, yeah, okay, cool, I'm gonna do this," and then jumps down and it's like, "Nah, sorry, fam. If you want to kill Robin, Robin's like, shit. The boss made me bring the boys to play.
but
So we
that's
gotta
from
have
last
this."
episode.
No, the fight with Tyrion right after this.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but
you're
that
gonna
scene
have
is
to
from-
wait in line. That scene is from last episode.
Was it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it was, but
Well, either way.
it's okay.
I
It's
have
the
to
setup
say-
to this fight.
I have to say, this is 2 episodes in a row now
Hmm.
where I have not been the host of the podcast. This one was not intentional. Tina has just decided to host the podcast.
Oh.
And now she's doing it wrong because she doesn't know what episode we're on.
No, I do.
God.
Okay, I literally marathoned all of Volume 7 with my girlfriend last night, and so okay, sorry. It's Tyrion Kalos under arrest, and they have this epic showdown. And by say epic showdown, Tyrion gets his fucking teeth kicked in. He doesn't
He
even like
does.
he doesn't get to do shit, and I love watching him get his ass kicked. So,
Every episode needs to have a moment for me of God, I wish that were me. And this episode was Robin kicking Tyrion in the face. I was like, God, I wish that were me.
Just
for
put that on loop.
$20, I'll stop. But so yeah, I really loved the fight between, you got, Robin and Crow and Clover all going against Tyrion, and Tyrion, every single turn he makes is just getting his fucking teeth kicked in. I was like, you ever just sit there?
Kyle Perkins, you are not in charge of this podcast. You don't get to tell her if she's fine to host, okay?
Kyle,
My
I love
job.
you.
I own this podcast.
Can I pin a comment? No, I can
No.
report it though. Let's not do that.
That's not...
This is my
I'm reporting
goddamn
Brian.
podcast.
You're reporting me.
I'm reporting Brian for being a toxic gamer.
Ooh.
As it's not, I just want us to get to the part with Salem and Ruby because I really just want to talk about that for a billion years. But I'll let you guys talk for a little while. I'm being gay.
Yeah, no, I like this fight. This is as Brian was saying earlier, like this fight felt, again, I won't go into like, oh, this fight was like more or less Monty or something, but like the fluidity of this fight, the fact that we had multiple people fighting, and sort of working together. This felt very much like the killer robot fight from Volume 2. To me, it was because Tyrion is like one-on-one as they're fighting Tyrion in this very fluid exchange of blows. He kind of like gets one over on the person only to be hampered by the second person, right? So he's like fighting Crow and he like knocks Crow's weapon away, but then he gets hooked by the tail by Mr. Fishing Hook, and like Robin here is like bouncing arrows off of. I do really like. There's one shot where Robin is like bouncing an arrow off a pipe or something, and it bounces off of Crow and hits Tyrion in the face. I was almost like it's his bad luck semblance sort of kicking in, and and then of course the ending to the fight is just comedic and funny, and is all around. This is one of my favorite fights from the season, I would say.
I just love Robin.
I think I definitely think that this is my favorite fight of the season, for sure. Because, like we actually haven't had all that many fights this season.
That's true.
And this one is definitely very, like you were saying, the fluidity of the fight. It was very fast paced, rather than kind of this stop and go kind of thing that we've been having, kind of for the rest of the season. And not that the stop and go is necessarily bad. It's just, it's not as high octane. You know?
1 minute and 4 seconds. That's how long it took for Tyrion from first impact to get his ass handed to him. I just want you to know that. I was going to say 60 seconds, but then I was like, no, let me get an exact number. 1
Also,
minute,
not even
4 seconds.
No, I'm not cosplaying Robin. I'm gonna be cosplaying May Marigold because she's my queen. I love her. Dabs. I just double dabbed, but no one saw me, and I realized that too late.
Oh my gosh. So this epic battle ensues, and then Robin fucking kicks Tyrion's teeth in. Can we talk about like? I think Beau is just sat there like, yo, I wish that were me.
I think I just said that like 5 minutes ago.
I know, but I need to reiterate it. Okay.
Need to say it again.
Yeah. So, as far as that is concerned, like I was with this fight with Tyrion, I was definitely like, it was over really quickly. And initially I was kind of like, oh, like I'm sad. Like they kind of built up Tyrion to be a more formidable force, but then at the same time I'm like, okay, but there are 3 of them.
There are 3 very well trained, very powerful hunters kicking his teeth in.
Yeah, so I can definitely let that slide and let that be.
Plus, you have the perfect storm of Crow and Clover assembling.
Yeah.
Right. Like they're unbeatable.
So obviously, Tyrion gets his ass handed to him. Robin kicks his teeth in, and we have this glorious, glorious moment They call for backup, and then we cue to
Yeah,
Ironwood's
Ironwood.
office.
So Ironwood comes back, and he's all tired. He took Watts's briefcase. Interesting that he has not yet checked what's in Watts's briefcase, but
Yeah,
sure.
I might be surprised to find.
But sure. And he immediately finds a nasty surprise in his office. He calls Winter. He's like, "Yo, did anybody get by our security?" And she's like, "No." And he's like, "Bitch, they did."
I really wish you guys could see the image Beau sent when we watched that episode. Because I watched it later in the day than when Beau had first seen it. Beau had probably watched it 20 times by the time we watched it. But they literally had a screenshot of Winter with her arm out, and it's like, look at all the fucks I give or something. Oh, that shit cracked me up. She has her arm perfectly out. It's like, here are all the fucks I give.
They call.
I
also,
made that.
They also call Team RWBY back, as well as the Aesops. And as they're calling them back, Team RWBY is like, "Yo, what's going on? This is weird." And the Aesops are like, "You don't need to be thinking about how it's weird. You just need to do what you're told."
Yeah. We also see
fashion.
Cinder at this point.
And you know what I noticed, only because I watched it all through again with my girlfriend, literally last night, is Cinder's like, threaten what Ironwood has, and he'll come flocking back to it. And literally, that's exactly what he did. He threatened it by putting the piece in his office, and then all of a sudden, Winter's leading Cinder right to the Maiden. And I'm like, ooh, she literally said that's what she was gonna do, and I was like, how are you gonna threaten him? What's gonna make him snap? And then I realized he's gonna think, oh, I got one step ahead here, and obviously that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So she made him think that she was one step ahead, so that he would do something that would put her one step. But yeah, it's like
he set it up so she would literally lead her to the Maiden.
Yep. Which is not. Yeah. I think at this point we were talking about like when exactly did Ironwood snap. Maybe it was last episode. Maybe it was like when he was talking with Oscar, and they said, "Oh, hey, by the way, we lied to you about the Salem being possible to kill." Maybe it was important. Probably should have told you that earlier. But I think we can kind of see. Maybe that was like part of it. But I really at the end of the his fight with Watts, we kind of see his pupils like narrow, like his pupils just get smaller, and I'm pretty sure they stay that way the whole rest of this episode. Like he's got these really squinty eyes at this point now. He's seen some stuff, and he's like jittery, and I think that's about when he snaps. When he pulls his arm out of the thing.
Can we talk about my girl Ruby figuring out that she's like, that's glass, black glass, Cinder's alive. And well, she says Cinder, and then you're like, Cinder's alive.
It made me think of
Great
Kronk from Emperor's New Groove, where it's like, yes, the poison for Cusco, the poison designed specifically to kill Cusco poison. Yes, the glass, the black glass, the obsidian black glass, the glass that you have to heat up. Oh, the Cinder's glass. The
glass from Cinder.
So I also want to pause for a minute just to say I didn't think about it until Beau said it, because I'm always so engrossed in the episode and what's going on, but how much of a phenomenal performance Lindsay did. And Beau pointed out when I watched it, it's like, yo, can we talk about Lindsay this episode? And I was like, shit, you right. Like she owned it this episode. I feel like if I had to put you did, I'd say Ruby hit it nail on the head. Lindsay hit it nail on the head with Ruby this episode. And there's some episodes where I'm like, okay, cool, that was great. But I really dug this one. What was the episode with Winter when she snaps? That she got it for that episode for me. Yeah, Ruby just hurting me.
So I think that, like, I definitely feel like, yeah, it was during the fight with Watts that Ironwood kind of lost it a little bit. And for sure, when he calls everybody back, I mean, he's completely out of it. He is paranoid out of his mind. He's sent Winter to go claim the powers of the Winter Maiden. This is, of course, very upsetting news for Weiss. And
death flags, many death flags.
Many. So well, hang on.
Okay.
So obviously, that's a very, very big issue. Now, the other big thing is Ironwood really starts to question the loyalty of Team RWBY. Now, this is why I say I feel like it was during the fight with Watts that I feel like he really snapped, because when Oscar initially told him, hey, we weren't entirely honest with you, we wanted to be sure we could trust you before we gave you this information. You've proven to us that we can trust you, so here's this information. Ironwood understood. Like, he was literally like he was totally cool with, he was like, okay, like, Oscar, no more surprises, right? Like, like, okay, like, we're cool, we're on the same page now, no more of that. It's like, cool. He totally went back on what he said here.
Well, that's because
Where-
he's no longer thinking entirely.
No, there's no
Rational.
rational thought here. It's all 100% emotionally driven.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
which
you
is why
even
that's
see him
happening.
like as he's giving orders to people, he's like talking to himself. He's like, wait, but if this happens, then like Cinder's probably in the building, and maybe Hazel's here too, and he's like, yo, dude, calm down. And Weiss literally says this. She's like, yo, calm down. It's okay.
Yeah, and like
You can see him going this way. Right.
And it's literally the kind of behavior, right, that like, Tina, like if any of us at KRWBY saw you or James exhibiting that kind of behavior, right, we would be like, okay, I think y'all need to cool down and let somebody else take charge, because you're crazy.
Ironwood just needs a Snickers, okay?
So,
He's not him when he's hungry.
Like,
so
like
we
if somebody's
see-
going like,
Not
but this,
sponsored by Snickers.
and then, oh no, there's all these problems. It's like, whoa,
So-
calm
Ironwood,
down, dude.
he feels like he's okay, cool. We got Watts, we got Tyrion, we're doing great. But obviously, there's Cinder has her piece in there, so there's like, okay, what if Hazel's here? But what I really find interesting is as soon as he starts questioning the loyalty of Team RWBY specifically, Blake takes a step back and gets in line with everyone else, and of course, we have the bag start to shift and shake, and out pops out the seer. And of course, it just kills itself to reveal this gas that is Salem.
Yeah.
And
Surprise!
I love how tall and menacing, but almost motherly. How she comes across as like, it's so endearing. It's creepy. Like she's like, oh, just give up. Like, just
Yeah.
it's futile. Don't worry. Like you're going to
Just
die. It's
sleep now.
fine.
Sleep now.
Yeah, and so it's
There's-
kind of like
I wanted to give a shout out because I saw this on Twitter. It's from Unicorn of War. There are a lot of things that I don't agree with how they post, but I did agree with this, and they posted about this scene with Salem. They said she has the face of a mother consoling a crying child. She doesn't gloat. She doesn't twist her mustache. She tells them that they're at a dead end and that only she can provide relief. Like, it's so
Boy,
it
it's
makes her
the
so
perfect
terrifying.
Domestic manipulator.
You know what
Like-
I love how Ruby's just like, yo fam, go fuck yourself. We've seen you fail. So like we know what's up.
So
Jin spoke
this-
to us, fam. And she just
Well-
like goes from that motherly to like, bitch, the fuck you just say.
Like, so this is really important because RWBY calls out something that is I think really, really key in that they actually don't need to kill Salem in order to stop her. However, of course, Salem retorts with something very potent, which is, your mother said the exact same thing.
Oh, okay, like my
Now we're
okay,
gonna talk about it.
so this is what I was waiting for. So Salem, shows up, obviously says what she does to Ironwood. He looks scared, and then he looks like he's about to pee his pants, pulls it together, and then
Yeah.
Ruby says that bit because the first bit they say it, but then she says it, and it turns Salem back towards Ruby when she reveals that Jin has showed them her flaws, or rather that she can be defeated, or rather she can't be killed. And so Ruby then acknowledges, like you said, we don't have to kill you to win, we just have to stop you. And when she said that, it was so chilling just to watch Ruby's face go from like determined to just absolutely heartbroken, and to watch
Yeah.
her straight up just have that shutdown moment was something that I just didn't think we'd see of Ruby. And that's why I'm really blown away by Lindsay's performance, is that we see the crack in her armor, and really what just went straight to the heart for her.
So
Mhm.
I will admit, I know everybody was super excited. We're like, oh man, we finally got to see RWBY break. And I know that on this podcast, like even back as early as Volume 4, we've been talking about this need for RWBY to actually break down under some of this stress that she's under.
Mm-hmm.
And we finally got it. And I felt very weird about it. This was I understand that, you know, Summer is a person that RWBY holds very near and dear to her heart. She cares a lot about her mother. But her mother has been gone for a long time. RWBY has also known that RWBY's not stupid. I think she knows that Summer died in the service of Ozpin fighting against Salem.
Except that's not
Maybe
true,
not
though.
directly against.
They confirmed that Summer died on a mission that was completely her own, that had nothing to do with Ozpin.
Hear me out for a second. Hear me out. Because earlier this season, you know, RWBY was really quick to blame Oz for a lot of things. And then she says, oh, you know, to Crow when they're having the cake getting the license. She's like, well, you know, blah, blah, blah. What happened to my mother? Was that another Ozpin mission? Because she was like almost pointing the finger at him. And he goes, no, that was a Summer mission. Nobody knew. She never came back. So they even confirmed then they don't know that she's actually dead. So again, I'm just humor me for a second. Don't have a body. They don't know if she's dead. She just left and never came back. But then Salem says, oh, your mother said that exact same thing to me. And she was wrong. So confirming that Summer had gone against her at some point and had failed. Imagine this. When Cinder made such a big deal about wanting to kill RWBY, Salem made a point to say, no, don't kill her. You're not allowed to. You can kill anyone else, but you can't kill her. Imagine being so vindictive and ancient, and the fact that you never die, that you just love watching people suffer. Imagine having somebody who's a prisoner, and then you just can't wait to kill their own daughter in front of them. Man,
I never got that vibe.
Vibes
I never got that
vibe
vibe from Salem when she told Cinder that she couldn't kill. I don't believe we ever got an on-screen from Salem. You are not allowed to kill RWBY. I want RWBY alive. It was she was going to send Tyrion after the after the Spring Maiden, and then
we did get it.
When
we did
Cinder,
get confirmation.
Well, when Cinder asked what about the girl, Salem was like, okay, bring the girl here, bring the girl to me alive. Meaning she at least wanted RWBY to be alive long enough to be brought back while she still had Cinder there at the palace. So realistically, and we also saw that Salem was there when Emerald used her powers to make Cinder see her getting her revenge on RWBY. Remember at the very end of Volume 4, she burned the image of RWBY. She killed RWBY.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think she was just trying to get RWBY there to let Cinder get her revenge to further solidify her loyalty to Salem.
I don't think so.
Let me finish what I was trying to say earlier, because it has literally nothing to do with that. What I was trying to say is that this because we knew, even if she had not died, you know, even if she had been told that she didn't die in the service of Ozpin fighting against Salem, we knew that she was fighting against Salem because she was one of Ozpin's people. So it shouldn't be a surprise that Salem knew Summer. It shouldn't be a surprise even that really Summer had potentially had contact with Salem. So this breakdown moment felt really weird. It felt like it came out of left field, and the only possible explanation that I can give for RWBY just suddenly breaking down, especially after being able to stand strong through Pyrrha, through Penny, through all of that. She's never collapsed and broken so instantaneously like that before.
No.
She's never even really broken to begin with. So it felt very strange for this one sentence to just kind of break her so thoroughly. And the only potential explanation that I could have for why that would happen, aside from just hey, we want like writing wise, hey, we want Ruby to break down, is that it has been canonically established that Salem's presence is supposed to be unbelievably terrifying. And so the only thing that I can really think to justify it is that Salem wasn't just using her words. She was also, I don't know, directly focusing her negative energy or whatever towards Ruby and actually doing something to really just kind of mentally break Ruby in that moment.
I mean,
but other than that, I
it-
really don't get it.
is that necessary though? Because okay,
Can-
like you mentioned Penny and Pyrrha, right? But Penny and Pyrrha were friends of hers. She met them in school. She got to know them. They were nice people, and then they died, and that was horrible. But her mother was someone that disappeared from a very early point in her life, and she's always had that. Like, I don't think that. Yeah, okay, Smoke Lady with her evil. Maybe Salem's semblance has something to do with this. If she has, I don't know, she's like old magic people from the time before, but maybe she has the power to incite fear in people. But I don't know that that's necessary. I mean, just mentioning
I disagree.
Ruby's mom
I think that
really,
might be
really
enough.
quick. What I was going to say is from last season, the reason I think Summer is a very soft spot in Ruby's life and nobody else really talks about it, brings it up. I had qualms, honestly. In last season, you see all these people that are important to her when she's fighting the Leviathan and she's trying to activate her Silver Eyes and she just can't do it. Even thinking about Pyrrha, Penny, all the people she loves, it was her mother in that final image that pushed her over the edge to really, activate her powers and stop the Leviathan. So I really think that her mom has a much deeper meaning in her life than we've been really informed. And maybe that's a writing flaw.
that is
maybe
definitely a writing flaw.
But I really think that it's not something that they have expressed or delve into. So that's why maybe that this scene caused a little bit of confusion. I think her mom is a really sensitive subject. And also she wanted answers before from Crow. She didn't get the answer. She's been really doubting a lot of things this season. She doesn't trust people. She used to be open and carefree and trusting and fun, and now she's almost getting like Ironwood to a degree. She's getting reserved. She's questioning people. She's keeping secrets, whether they're for good reasons or not. She's not being naive like she was in Volume 1. So she's a different character, and I think it's important to know that she's growing and changing. And I think those emotions are really weighing on her.
I definitely agree with that. What I will say about that though is kind of once again, like, we were talking previously, we've talked a lot about like the Bumblebee stuff and the Renora stuff and kind of how some of that has felt kind of weird. And I think it boils down to the same thing, or the same issue with that. Like, I think this scene, exactly as it is, like, because realistically, this is the one qualm I have with this scene. I have no other qualms with this scene. I think that this scene actually could have worked as it currently is, kind of like all the Bumblebee stuff we've been seeing, the Renora stuff that we've seen, if there had been a little better setup to it. If, like, they really only decided to start talking about some last volume, and it was only very little. We've gotten a little bit more Summer this volume, and I really feel like this would have worked a lot better had they spent the time to really properly establish just how much Summer means to Ruby.
Like maybe
Let Beau go really quick.
Yeah.
Let me offer something, because I saw some people in chat that were saying stuff like, she's been, thought to be dead for years and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to offer some insight as someone who lost their mother when they were younger. Not quite as young as Ruby, but still lost their mother at a very pivotal part of their time in their life. That pain never goes away. And if the right person says the right things to me, I'm not even kidding. I will break down exactly the way that Ruby broke down in that scene. No matter how okay or together I am most of the time, if the right person says the right thing, it'll happen. And I
I've
think
definitely heard that happen with you. So yeah,
you've definitely heard me have those moments. And I think that it's really important to remember that there's a lot about Summer's quote unquote death that we don't know about, that Ruby doesn't know about. She obviously still has a lot of questions about the means of how her mom, disappeared or died. And I think that this was the first time that she got an actual direct confirmation of some kind of detail pertaining to what happened to her mom. And I think that it is like people are saying in chat, it is a very, very touchy subject for her already. But, getting these vague answers, getting her like half answer from Crow of like, well, I don't know what happened to her. She went off one day and didn't come back, and Ozpin was just as confused. It's not really an answer. It's not really anything that's like a direct confirmation of like, yes, this happened. But hearing Salem, this big bad that before this conversation was just this unrelated bad guy that they were fighting. Obviously the big bad, but unrelated to her mother as far as she knew. Suddenly having that connection of there's a very real chance that the person I am looking at right now is the reason my mother is not here anymore. I honestly do not blame her for breaking down like that.
so
I totally agree with that. However, in the context of storytelling, right? This I think is my recurring issue with this season of RWBY, right?
Mhm.
It's once again, I buy the outcome. I don't see how we got there.
That's fair.
And so because I 100% believe that Ruby's situation with her mom is very similar to yours in that, like, as you said, you say the right thing, it's going, the dam is going to break, right? But the problem is that particular aspect of Ruby's character has never been established to the audience previously.
And maybe this is that establishing point and it's just not well introduced. I honestly like the point that we see, like, oh, okay, this is a really touchy subject. I like that maybe there wasn't a lot of setup here. Obviously, Ruby has we know that her mom has been dead for a while apparently, but she still, when they're getting their license, made a point to ask Crow. Why would she ask that out of the blue unless she's really thinking, she's mad at Ozpin and wants to blame him, maybe look for an excuse. But why, of all things, would she ask about her mom? Why is that important there? Why was it pertinent? It's not, but it just shows that it is something all these years later that's really making her, it's on her mind.
I think that was more so I'm a huntress just like my mom was. Like, I wish she could have been here kind of thing. And, like she was just kind of in the back of her mind, like, that absent-minded thought of like, man, I wish my mom could see me like this. And then, with Crow being there, just kind of occurred to her with all of the mistrust and, finding out that things hadn't gone the way that they thought originally and whatnot, and being misinformed and having things hidden from them. I think that it just kind of was at this point of like, do you know what happened to my mom kind of thing? Like,
yeah, I think honestly, the problem could have been solved if we had just heard Ruby talk about Summer a little more regularly. Really, I don't think we heard Ruby effectively talk about Summer. And then the last time I can recall actually hearing Ruby talk about Summer in any kind of serious capacity was Volume 6. And
what about 3?
Yeah, like the opening.
She literally
scene
has a
3.
conversation with her mom, kind of like.
What?
So okay, at the beginning of Volume 3.
Oh, well, okay, right. I remember now. So yes, but the problem is that was literally 4 seasons ago. You have to keep. It's not enough to just go, oh, hey, remember what happened back?
But see, time-wise,
in Volume 1, you have to keep up to date with these facts about your characters, because as your characters grow and evolve and they stop talking about these things, your characters or your audience is going to assume, or if at worst your audience is going to forget that those things ever happened, and at best your audience is going to assume that your character has moved on.
So, also to add really quick, kind of jumping from the story a little bit to some of the actual physical labor that goes into making the episodes, I absolutely loved what the audio team did with the flashes between Ruby and these thoughts of summer. I got super horror vibes, and it was so awesome. It's like this.
Hmm.
The images we saw before where it was like this bright happy summer is now this dark and decrepit like horror movie screeching noise. It sets the feel of how like nails on chalkboard it was. And I really love the sound design. Like to me, it just the
Mhm.
whole scene had this force behind it that was just it was very powerful, and you felt like Salem was there and the audio backed that up. And then, Ruby hits this moment where it's like I said, nails on chalkboard and like the shattering in herself.
Yeah.
And it really, I feel like, helped the story significantly. Not that it stood out, but it's something that really was like, ooh, this all is so beautiful together. So
The
I
sound
just want to
design
say right
backed up
there.
the character moment.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Mhm. Oh yeah,
Um,
absolutely. No, the sound design team did a fantastic. I mean, I think it was a collaborative effort both between the sound design team and Jeff Williams and Alex Abraham, because this is one of those really awesome bits of work where the line between music and sound design kind of blends. Um, and I've gotten to work on a few projects where that has kind of happened, where I'm actively collaborating with the composer to kind of make sure that my sound design is going to work in tandem with the music. And because a lot of the sound design is going to just in general be more designy rather than, oh, that's the sound of a gun, or oh, that's the sound of an alarm clock, or that kind of stuff. This stuff that's really like creating the sound of something that doesn't actually really exist in the real world, and kind of having that blend into the music bed.
So, question for you guys. I'm just curious on your thoughts on it. Do you think because now Ruby does have that confirmation that Salem had some sort of hand in maybe her mother's demise or her mother's disappearance, do you think that that's going to put a fire under Ruby's ass more so? Because Ruby's all about helping the people, but she quickly pulls herself together and is like, "Yo, I'm not going to take this sitting down." And we see obviously how she acts moving forward. But do you think that with Salem in particular, she's going to be bested by her emotions, or is that going to be like a driving force to where she works in tandem with it to do what her mother maybe couldn't?
Boy, I sure hope it bests her.
Wow. I think
Like,
okay, so real
so
talk.
the reason why I say that is because I have been calling for Ruby to have this mental breakdown for a very long time. I'm really tired of her being kind of this rock for everybody, which I know is supposed in the show. She's like she's a light that shines it and kind of lights the way for
The
everybody, even
power
in the
is
darkest
mine.
of times. Even in the
Uh,
Even in the
but
darkest of times,
I-
we're quoting Harry Potter.
yeah,
agree with Brian here. She's always been like a guiding light, a lighthouse for ships in the night. I want to see what happens when that light goes out for a bit.
yeah, I want to. Same. I really want to see what happens when that light goes out, and I want to see how Team Ruby, the rest of her team and her friends, the people rally around her and become her light, so that she can get back on her feet and get back into that position of being everybody else's light.
so Bo, what do you
But
think
that
on it?
can't happen in the space of 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I'll be
Yeah,
really
no,
sad
that's
if
true.
that happens in the space of 5 minutes.
Bo, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a driving force. I think it's just going to motivate her further. Um I personally don't like I want to see less of the breaking down and more of the it makes her more determined than ever. Um Also, we did see Yang react to the implication. If you look closely enough, Yang is on like bordering on tears as well when Ruby collapses into her lap. Um, but yeah, I want to see more of this. Just solidifies Ruby's commitment to this fight, that she has to see this through to the end.
So
I
unpopular
have to wonder about
opinion.
that, but
Oh, sorry, you go ahead.
well, I think yeah. So Salem, this whole scene with Salem here is about her sort of manipulative power, right? Like
Mhm.
her theme song is literally called Divide, and that's exactly what she's doing here,
Yep.
right? Ironwood is there defiantly. He's pointing his gun at her, even though she's made of smoke. But whatever. He's like, "No, we're gonna stop you." And she turns to him. It's like it's already hoped. You've already lost. I'm unkillable. Right? She figures out the best way to take his strength from him and break him. And then RWBY has this amazing moment where she's like, we can't kill you, but we're gonna she plays that hero card that she's really good at playing, and Salem immediately goes over to her and she says, no, dear, I killed your mom.
So
She finds the one thing to break RWBY's spirit. Like that's
Well,
exactly what she's doing. This
she
scene.
didn't say she killed her mom. She said your mother said those same words to me and she was wrong. So she didn't say she killed her. And I'm really
implied, though.
but I'm still stuck on this logic of, obviously we thought Penny was dead, robot or not. We knew she was unique. And what I'm getting at is, we don't have a body. Crow's like, oh, she never came back, so we just assumed she died. Oh, okay. And then now we know Salem might have had a hand in that, and she's like, you said the same thing. She said the same thing, and she was wrong. And you're your mother's daughter, essentially. And she's essentially
I hope
implying.
They don't pull the evil mom card on.
I honestly, I think by the end of the series, and I know I've said this many, many times. Anyone who knows me, this is my prediction for the end of RWBY, not obviously the season, but for the end of the entirety of series for RWBY. They did say when they're finished with RWBY, there will be a definitive end to the RWBY saga, and I think that's going to be with RWBY's death. So
yeah, I think she'll play the martyr in the end. I think
she will save humanity, and the gods will spare all of humanity for this one girl's sacrifice.
I actually I pulled up my companion guide because there's a really important thing about Salem that it says in here, but it also says, because I know that's towards the end, World's End, relevant to what you were just saying, Tina, is every new episode brings RWBY, Weiss, Blake, Yang, and the rest of RWBY's cast ever closer to a final accounting of their fates. We want to make sure we're telling a complete story with RWBY, and a complete story has an end. So
I think the song from, is it Volume 1 or Volume 2? There's one, I May Fall is a song that I think is talking about this end battle.
I actually saw somebody, I think it was on Twitter, or actually maybe it was even in the RWBY 7 spoiler chat, dissecting Red Like Roses Part 2.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't it something like Don't Follow in My Footsteps? It was like Summer's ode to RWBY. But really quick, as somebody was saying in chat, I do want to point out Yang and RWBY are biologically related. They are half siblings. They share the same father. Because I saw somebody saying, with them not possibly being related. They are related. That has been confirmed.
That is canon.
Dad has been said to be Tai Yang. Yang's dad has said to be Tai Yang. They have the same father.
Yeah, it's over here like a catch all that
it was
Crow.
Crow.
Actually, it was Crow the entire time. We have no reason to believe otherwise at this point.
I mean, I still believe that, but that's mainly because they fight with the same weapon and they have the same color scheme.
So
Fair enough.
Clearly, she takes after Crow.
So
maybe not
one thing scooting forward a bit to after Salem dissipates, obviously there's this tension that's left in the room. Everyone's like, oh my god, that's Salem, that's who we're up against, and Marrow is like pissing his pants. Elm looks concerned. Harriet's like, fuck it, I guess. And Vine is just expressionless. He's devoid. He's the Lyran of the group anyways. So what I find interesting, and it's Beau, I know you were saying a little bit in chat earlier, going back and forth, and it's something I wanted to wait till we got here to talk about, is Ironwood says, oh, I've sent Winter to claim what's hers, claim the power of the maiden. And before, when Pyrrha was going to get in the machine, Ozpin says to her, I don't know what this is going to do to you. You're going to be one person with two souls. And so we thought that's where the story was, is it's pulling the soul from the one person, putting them in the other with their aura. It's essentially smushing two people together in one body. The original body getting transferred out of dies, but they don't know what it's going to do to the personality or the demeanor of the person as a whole. So I'm really curious, because there is a big behind the whole transfer of aura, and if it's going to affect personality, and if it's something that makes you like an Ozpin Oscar situation.
Right.
So I'm curious.
I assume that's kind of what's happening.
Died shortly afterwards.
We've talked about this in previous episodes of the podcast.
Very long time ago, I think, though.
No, we've been talking about it this season too.
Was I just not there? like at work. earning
Yeah,
a
I think
paycheck.
actually I think
Probably.
we talked about this last week actually.
Yeah, that would explain everything.
Um, yeah, like it's definitely going to be. I mean, I think that there's a real question about whether or not Winter is even going to go through with it. To be
Yeah.
completely honest, because Ironwood has basically completely snapped at this point,
What if-
and
what if
he's
Neo becomes-
basically taken like he's saying, yeah, I no longer trust you guys to have the lamp. I've sent Winter to go claim the power of the Winter Maiden. And also, by the way, I'm going to I'm going to repurpose the Amity Project, apply it to Atlas, send Atlas high into the atmosphere, and leave Mantle to die. Also, I'm declaring martial law.
Isn't there
Also,
like,
I've gone insane and lost all sense.
Well, can
Yeah.
we talk about Weiss just being so sad and her just going no? Like she's thoroughly let down by Ironwood, and it's just like this defeated like no. And I love Kara. I think Kara did really good. Not that she said much of anything this episode, but that moment I really felt it. I felt that despair in Weiss.
isn't there
Yeah.
something in like at least in U.S. military code of conduct for like if a commander is just like blatantly disregarding his
Well,
orders
there
and
there
social-
is in the military where, and it's something that I've been saying for the last couple days, or at least since this. Well, for this volume, but then also now, especially since this episode, is a good soldier follows orders. A great soldier knows when to disobey them. And I think the stakes are too high. I think the Winter Maiden powers need to be with someone who can actively use them, if necessary, to defend people. So I don't think that Freya keeping the powers is on the table at all, because she's gonna die eventually, and they need to be able to be in control of it. And so I think that Winter will take the powers, but I don't think she's going to be willing to use them for Ironwood's gain until she has all of the facts.
So, question, because we're talking since somebody had said it in chat, I don't know who, so credit to whoever said it. Winter might be hesitant, I think, and Penny is with her. So I think either Penny's gonna die again, and Pietro, well, it's on your bingo card, Beau, that Pietro would sacrifice himself to do that. But what if Penny was the one to do the transfer? Can she? She's technically a girl and she has an aura. But
honestly, I think it would be more likely to succeed with her.
So normally the powers transfer to somebody. You either have to die or you have to die and they have to either thinking about you or you get it at random. Those were the rules before. Cinder changed those rules when she literally stole the powers for herself with the means of a Grim. So who's to say with the means of a machine they couldn't force it into someone else? And it's
and we did see the machine in the room with her, right? The big
so
Here's something interesting, though. Penny does not have a full and complete soul. She is part of it given by Geppetto.
Yeah, she has a fragmented soul.
Yeah. What if this is the way of giving her a full soul?
She's gonna become a real girl.
Yeah, but it wouldn't. That's not the same thing, because changing, at least in my, the way that Pietro kind of talked about it is, if Pietro can't be the one to supply the soul for Penny, then, sure, they could probably grab someone else's soul, i.e. Freya's soul, and use it, but we don't know what that, I don't think it's gonna just power Penny and give her more soul to use. I think it would actually, I feel like realistically, Penny's personality is based around the soul that's powering her. So that worries me that if they try to use Freya's soul to power Penny indefinitely, that it might not be the Penny that they know.
Oh, yeah, so that was kind of what I was gonna say, is that I think all of the previous transfers to Penny have been with one particular soul, and that has kind of established who Penny is. We don't know what's going to happen when you mix in another soul into that. It might make her a completely different person. It's the same thing that we're worried about with Winter assuming the powers of the Winter Maiden. So I definitely think that that's a concern. But once again, kind of coming back to center here, we have a there's a very real question about whether or not Winter is even going to go through with it, because once Ironwood says like, yeah, I'm going to declare martial law, I'm going to do all these things, I'm going to leave all these people. RWBY takes the initiative. She takes her scroll and she alerts Jean and Crow and all of these other, including about what Ironwood's plan is, and then Ironwood immediately silences her by cutting off communications. But he got the word out. So and now Winter is not alone. She has other people there to kind of counsel her. So I feel like if she was on her own, she'd probably
she
be
has
like,
Penny to counsel her.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
I think, but see, here's the thing, and Beau, you pointed it out, a long time ago that I was about to say Beau and Penny, that Winter and Penny are foils of each other. The human who is like the heartless being, and then the robot who's like, has so much heart and so much love. And I really think that Penny's not going to be okay with it, and she's going to take RWBY's advice and follow what RWBY said earlier in the season, when she asked Penny like, oh, how do you feel about it? She's like, oh, well, Ironwood says this, and I think RWBY said something along the lines of like, I don't know, following what she feels or something. I don't remember. But anyways, we can tell that Penny has a lot of emotion and she follows orders, but I think she's gonna also hop the fence and go with Team RWBY, and stop being a tool, because Ironwood even refers to her as she's under my control, like essentially that she's just a thing when she's very much real and alive like everyone else, and RWBY acknowledges that. So I think that
yeah, well, and Penny is also like, even her emotional side is emotional state aside, she's a logical kind of, she's a hopeful but still logical kind of person, and what Ironwood is doing is not logical right now. Like, he's made some pretty dumb decisions, and this decision to we're just going to sacrifice the entire city to maybe save the relics by putting them in orbit, like, it's not a very good plan, and I don't know that Penny's gonna.
That was the next thing that I wanted to talk about.
Let Beau say what they were trying to say.
It's about this whole like, the Winter, will Winter do it? Will she? Won't? Will she? Won't she? Oh God, I feel like I have something sharp in my throat. Hold on. Anyways, I had said before, back before, I think it was before episode 5, before we kind of got the reveal that, Winter's kind of, set up to be the next maiden and whatnot, is that I wasn't sure that Winter would prioritize Weiss over her commitment to Atlas. That I wasn't sure that she would, willingly betray her position, as a protector of Atlas, in order to just side with her sister. But after that conversation with Weiss in the maiden room, and then now seeing the issues that are kind of unfolding and whatnot, I honestly think that Winter will be one of those voices, because she has this line in that scene where she says, I could do some real good for Atlas, and then corrects herself and says for Remnant. I think that I honestly, again, I don't think that letting Freya or letting anyone else take the powers is on the table. I don't think that's on the table at all. Winter has to take the powers. Otherwise, they run the risk of the powers going to someone they can't trust or someone they can't control. Cinder, Neo. But I think that it's gonna come down to, okay, she has the powers now. Who is she siding with? Because that could very well be the defining factor of, is Atlas gonna ascend, or is it gonna stay right the fuck where it is?
So here's the thing, right? I really hope, because Winter might very well end up taking the powers of the Winter Maiden. However, I feel like there is more. What I would hope will happen is that Winter will decide to take the powers naturally. Either she'll decide to protect the current Winter Maiden, or in the middle of a fight, the Winter Maiden will die and it will naturally transfer to Winter, rather than Winter trying to take it into her own hands to try to, force it on herself. Because if
you said take the powers naturally, and I immediately just assumed you meant Winter goes up and stabs her.
No.
No, Winter just sits there and waits for her to fucking kick the bucket.
No, so like, but either protect her, or if Cinder comes in, maybe Cinder kills her, and the power naturally transfers to Winter because she's the only one that she's been seeing, right?
Yeah, but that doesn't
That's
mean
their
that she's
plan.
the only one that she's been thinking
Well, I know,
of.
but I hope that she doesn't go that extra step because, like I was saying earlier, right? One of the major issues for this season of RWBY, in my opinion, is setups and payoffs. We've had a lot of things happen that haven't really been properly set up. And one of the things that I think they have been doing a fantastic job setting up is Winter's change of mindset from I am a soldier, I must protect Atlas, to I am a huntress and I must do what's right for the world and I have morals that I need to uphold, even if that means disobeying orders. We've
Yeah.
already had the scene where Weiss has kind of sowed the seeds for, are you sure that you really implicitly trust Ironwood? Right?
Mhm.
And so
And we see her doubt about that.
and we see her doubt about that. So I really want
X'd
to
it out.
see
X'd it out.
I really want to see Winter go against Ironwood on something. I think that would be major character development for Winter, and it would also match what we've been seeing. And I would be worried that if she doesn't, then that would kind of negate everything else that we've seen up until this point.
So
Yeah.
I'm curious though, because obviously he cuts the comms on Ruby. Ruby has this epic like quick draw time moment where she hits the button and hops the thing, says this whole message. But I'm
Yeah,
curious
I love
how.
her eye contact with Ironwood there.
Oh my
She's
God,
like,
yes.
she has this moment of like, I'm gonna defy you right now, and he's like, no, you better not.
So I'm curious, and I know everyone's been talking about it with Winter. I really think that she's going to turn her back on Ironwood because Ironwood's gonna say, Team Ruby's under arrest, blah blah blah, they're traitors, and she's gonna be like, no, not my sister. Like she knows where Weiss's heart lies and where her loyalty lies there. And I think Ironwood has crossed the line. But I think what's also important to mention, and I find it interesting because me and my fiance, we normally agree on the same things when it comes to like how the show's been playing out. We often share similarities. She's not into it, but she watches it to humor me. But so we'll sit down, we watch it, and she's like, no, I think Ironwood made the right call. I said, well, I think he's absolutely wrong. He's trying to do this short term. He's trying to set up this payout to get away.
Actually, hang on, Tina, before you move into that.
Mhm.
Because that is actually something that I wanted. That's a question that I wanted to pose to everybody, right?
Mhm.
Is because Ironwood shuts down communications. RWBY, he says, Team RWBY, you're under arrest, and they're like, we're not gonna go without a fight, and he's like, yeah, I kind of figured. Oh, by the way, Oscar is also missing, and that's where the episode ends. So the question that I wanted to pose to everyone is basically what you were about to just start talking about, Tina, is do you think that Ironwood is making the right call? Because I have heard people on both sides of this argument, so I'm curious to hear what everybody thinks.
So to finish my thought on it, like I said, my fiance thinks that he's making the right call to get the few away, save who he can, and leave what's left in Mantle. And obviously that means Team Juniper. Or no, they were a backup in Atlas because they were at Oscar's room. But I think that he is making a bad call. I agree with RWBY here, and that they need to stand their ground and fight, get the tower up, and get help. Because that, like, if it got help from, was it Vacuo, they said, then that was their big concern from Salem's side, is like, oh, if Vacuo comes in, then it's gonna fuck it all up. I think if they did that, they would set themselves up for success. And even Salem and all her power and all her might would not be able to cross, at least not for a while. And it gives them time to regroup, to get out. However, getting Atlas out of the way does remove them out of distance from her, so they think. But I think even that is flawed and limited, because where there are humans, there is light and there is darkness. So when there's darkness, there can be Grim. So I don't think Grim are just limited to existing in a sense that where Salem wouldn't be able to get them. Obviously, there was a seer in there.
We do know. I mean, we do know for a fact that from a world of Remnant that out above, beyond the reaches of the atmosphere, the Grim can't reach.
Mm-hmm.
We know the dust doesn't work.
No. And it was also confirmed that that's out of the reach of the Grim, because they were trying to get it out of the reach of the Grim, but dust loses its power that far out. And so I think it's also safe to assume Because well, maybe it's not safe to assume, but you know, I would assume that if dust doesn't work up there, then probably the Grimm don't work up there either, because
That's
they're
fair.
made of the same stuff.
The question
So-
is,
Grimm are made
could
of
they
dust?
get
Wait.
high enough that dust will still work, but Grimm won't be able to reach them en masse? The question will be, how long will it take for
Can you
Salem.
imagine how funny it would be if there was just a fucking Grimm satellite orbiting Rem?
Some big eyeball with tentacles or something.
Yeah.
Imagine how long, like, the next question I would have when I got up there is, how long is it going to be until Salem creates a Grimm race that is able to make it up to the point where most Grimm could not? Not to where
I
She-
don't
like,
know
she's
that
just
she
gonna
can
put-
necessarily
but, like-
create original Grimm. I think she can really only alter pre-existing Grimm with pieces from other pre-existing Grimm.
We're
So-
not
I don't know that
entirely
we
sure
know.
about that.
We have
We're
enough
not
information on that.
100%
Like,
about that process. We know that she does have the flying monkeys, aka Wicked Witch of the West style. We know that we've got so many broad races of Grimm that I wouldn't put it past her being able to. We just don't have anything specific enough to nail down what her power over them is.
So I'm
she's just gonna put the flying monkeys in spacesuits. What do you? I
I'm
mean-
curious. I'm curious to see how it definitely progresses. I think somebody was saying they think that Ruby, overestimating Ruby's ability. Can you imagine how much of a different fight it would be if Ruby did have that control over her Silver Eyes? Because I feel like it would be too OP. Like, please nerve
Yeah.
Ruby's a Mary Sue at that point. Because I think she would be just so untouchable. And that's why I think, obviously, Salem before, Silver-Eyed Warriors were such a problem, and they made a point to hunt down and kill a bunch of them, Maria being one that wasn't killed, but obviously lost her Silver Eyes. So who's to say, Summer wasn't somebody in the same boat, and eventually Ruby will be.
I want to point out that Team RWBY never actually directly lied to Ironwood. They never
They just
they-
withheld.
they never explicitly stated, yes, Ironwood, we have the lamp, and we know for a fact that there are no more questions that
They
can
just
be
said-
used. We
they
do
said
not know
Ozpin.
anything about this situation. Like, they literally
Yeah.
just quoted what Ozpin said,
Yeah,
which is
but-
not
Which
is not
they
untrue.
knew, what they
But
everything they said was
Salem
true, but they also knew in that context that it wasn't the whole.
there's
truth.
If there's
It was
anything I've
misleading.
learned from playing D&D with asshole DMs, you always ask questions. Therefore, it's Ironwood's fault for not asking more questions.
I mean,
Uh-huh.
unfortunately, in this case, I have to say the sin of omission, it was just as great a break of trust as a lie.
I genuinely still don't think that what Team RWBY did is the same thing as Ozpin actively leading people to believe that he had a means of fighting and defeating Salem for generations. Saying one white lie is not the same thing as literal, probably centuries of manipulating people.
I
no,
also want
they're
to
not
say
of the same
that
magnitude.
I
Beau has
honestly,
sobered up and Beau has words.
honestly, like,
Oh shit,
when
son,
it comes to
everybody get covered.
situations like this, I'm not somebody who likes to lie to people. But if I had to tell a white lie because, I didn't trust someone or something else like that, I would totally agree with their decision because they didn't trust him. There's
Mhm.
times where I'd say, oh, I don't know, when really I do about certain things, because I think sometimes just because doesn't mean you should reveal all your cards, because you don't know if the other end has a gun under the table pointed at you. And in this case, their fears kind of came to fruition. They were worried Ironwood has snapped and is just not right, and he's making these rash calls. None of Team RWBY agrees with his decisions, and the fear that they had coming into Atlas has come full circle. He is exactly the person that they were afraid he was. And it just took a while for everything to crack away. They were almost like, okay, cool, maybe we're wrong. Everything's cozy, everything's good. But he's cracked.
In part because of them not telling him the full information. I mean, part of his argument against them is they did, like Yang and Blake, without even, the okay from the rest of Team RWBY, did directly defy his orders and give away, essentially, state secrets
You
to
know,
the enemy.
that
People-
was
when he
something.
says
That was
we
something that
didn't
really
know that
pisses
Robin
me
was
off.
on our side.
Yeah, that
He's
was
not
something that
wrong.
really pissed me off about Ironwood, because they're all like, "Oh, you told Robin like our big old secret," and it's like, well, we didn't know that we could trust her, and it's like, but we can. So where's the fucking issue here?
So okay, hear me out. But then Ironwood told all of the Aesops about everything else. So it's
and
kind of
yeah, and that
hypocritical.
wasn't his.
So
It wasn't his call to make. It's stop sharing secrets that aren't yours to share.
I'm gonna quote the trailer, and obviously we saw it in the season. Is I'm trying to do what I think what's right. Just because I think it's what's right doesn't mean it's what's best. And Ruby acknowledges that in the trailer. We see it in the show, and Ironwood can't accept that he thinks he's doing what's right, but it's not what's best. And I'm gonna stand by that. I don't know. I think that Ironwood is willing to sacrifice everyone else to save who he has. To get not one, not two, but technically 3 relics and 2 maidens out of Salem's hands. And the reason I say that is
How do you
because
figure 3?
because if Salem or if Cinder's gone, she can't open the beacon vault. So
That's
So-
fair. That is fair.
Here's my thinking on it, right? I think the issue that Ironwood is faced with is a moral one. It is very much a, do we lose the battle and so that we can fight the war another day, or do we stand our ground and and roll the dice to see if we can win this battle and continue to fight the war? And so I don't. While he is acting a bit crazy, I don't necessarily think that his thinking is 100% out of whack.
Actually,
the one thing
I
that
agree.
makes hang on. The one thing that makes me think that he really truly is making the wrong decision is Watts's line of when he says, "I will sacrifice whatever it takes to stop Salem." Watts responds with, "I hope you do, James."
Mhm.
Which indicates to me that by Ironwood making these huge sacrifices, he is playing right into Salem's hands. Him
Oh yeah,
declaring
absolutely.
martial law, leaving Mantle for dead. That is exactly what Salem wants.
Yeah.
And she has a plan for it.
Well,
So
right. I
here,
mean,
here's
I think
here's
that-
my.
I think he's making a gamble. Like, under most other circumstances, if the fight with Watts had not happened, and he just snapped and said, "We need to do this now. We don't have a choice." Honestly, I'm not sure if I would probably kind of back him up. It's like, oh shit, we need to get going.
See,
But
I
considering
would.
the circumstances, it's like, nope. I'm sorry, James. Like, we can't do it. You can't do it.
Like I'm seeing in chat, a bad plan is better than no plan. I disagree. A bad plan can set you back. No plan just kind of keeps you stagnant. So there's that. And then there's also the question of could you trust someone who went behind your back and, said something, betrayed your trust? Yes, I can, as long as they did it for the right reasons. Like, I literally know people that I am still actively friends with that have gone behind my back and done something or said something. And maybe initially I didn't see why it was okay for them to do that. But now looking back on it, it's like, yeah, sure, hindsight's 2020. But I would rather, if that's the right thing to do, and they can tell me like I did it because of this reason, and it's like, okay, you know what, you're right, I didn't think about that, I didn't consider that. I think yes, there is absolutely a time when it's okay to go behind someone's back, and I think that they were right to bring Robin into the fold.
Well,
So-
I mean, and Weiss basically points that out. She's like, none of this matters. What's important is the enemy is at our doorstep. What are we going to do about it, right?
So-
Yeah.
We're on the same side now. We might have lied to each other a while ago, but we all know pretty much all of our lies at this point. Let's just, like, work with what we got.
I also am oh, my brain just took a poop. Oh, I was gonna say something. What was I gonna say?
Well, while you're figuring that out, the other thing that I really want to talk about is, can we talk about the fact that as we see that Oscar is missing,
Oh, I remembered.
we literally see that there are destroyed Elysian Knights on the ground,
Mhm.
implying that Ironwood sent his forces to go capture Oscar, not Cinder, not Salem, not any, like it was literally Ironwood who went to try to
I
detain
didn't-
Oscar.
I didn't get that vibe. I thought
I
it was
did.
more so he sent the knights to protect Oscar because Oscar had the relic, like we know, and that
Mhm.
someone, cough Neo cough, came in after Oscar, and there was a fight that ensued in that room. I don't think that he went there to arrest
Perhaps,
Oscar.
but
So-
literally, Ironwood said that, like, oh yeah, like you could keep the relic. That was, or I said you could keep the relic, but that was before you lied to me. So you don't think that he would have sent out an order to be like, hey, detain that motherfucker because I want that relic back now?
So really quick backtracking because I remembered what it was.
Mhm.
I was going to argue and say that no plan is equally bad as a bad plan at points. Not necessarily. I think if you have no plan, standing still can get you killed just as much as a bad plan. So
Yeah.
I think it's a matter of plan or no plan. I think it's just arguing semantics at that point because they're in a situation that they can't do nothing because Salem will come and then they will die if they don't fight, if they don't amount some sort of defense. Harriet points out that they're tired, they're worn down, that they can't survive another fight like that. But and you know,
I
we see
mean,
how
all
exhausted
those
they are.
ships in the background kind of speak other. Like, none of the ships are broken. They got a bunch of warships. I feel like their army could probably take a few more hits. But
I want to point out Neo and Torchwick took out several of those ships by themselves with little to no effort in, was it Volume 3? So imagine if the right people got in there. I mean,
Yeah.
Watts is gone, so as far as we are aware. So they don't have their sort of hacking in it, but they don't know. Like Watts could have disabled the weaponry. They already said the stuff was disabled for the long range detection or destroyed.
Yeah, but now they got Pietro.
But Pietro is limited. I think that's not going to magically just be fixed like that.
I don't
'cause
think
they
genius
have to get
has a limit, Tina. I
I
think
think-
genius can do whatever the fuck it wants.
I think they
Anyway,
need to be able to get into the system.
anyway, we're coming up on time here. Why don't
Because
we move to
remember, Pietro
predictions?
was part of the people who
Yo,
developed
Drunk
that
Brian.
system. Yeah, I hear you. Let me finish my thought.
Can you just change
Like-
his name to Drunk?
Like,
Drunk.
no, like I definitely think that like remember Pietro was part of the team that helped develop that security system along with Watts, and unlike Watts, Pietro has actually been involved in the revamp of that security system. So
Mhm.
I feel like Pietro would have what he needs at his disposal to work on it and deal with any potential hacking, especially with Watts out of the way.
Is he going to be the IT hero the show has always needed? I hope so. Please, for the
No.
love of God, get better net security. Oh my God.
Two-factor authentication or bust.
Oh my God.
Man.
But we are.
I want to see that, like fucking it gets hacked and they're trying to get back in and they're like, yeah, what is your mother's maiden name?
So-
Oh, man.
What if? Oh man, I'm just excited to see. I really am curious to see if Neo jumps the fence because we saw before she was ready to absolutely destroy Cinder, and Cinder convinces her to hop the fence to fight to get Ruby, and we see Neo getting stubborn, putting her foot down about Ruby. It was the episode before. So now we're at a point where I really think that once Neo really knows what's at stake and sees Team Ruby is going to realize, I think that it wasn't. I don't think she can blame Ruby for if anyone's trying to kill you, you're going to try to defend yourself. I think she's going to see that she's just been being manipulated by Cinder. And I'm excited to see, I want to see that happen. I want to see Neo turn on Cinder and still be kind of like this chaotic neutral. But I want to see her flip the fence. Same with Emerald. I really want both of them to flip sides because I think they could.
Oh, absolutely.
I see it with Emerald. I don't know if we know enough about
think
Neo to know where
Neo-
she
I think-
stands on.
I think Neo works for no one but Neo.
Yeah, basically.
She I think she cared a lot about Torchwick, so there's that vendetta, obviously.
Mhm.
But I think her focus wasn't on Ruby; it was on Cinder before, and it got flipped around where Cinder managed to coax her into going, "Okay, it's gonna be Ruby. Ruby's the problem. She's the reason. Like, let's go get her." And so she's
Mhm.
been catering to that, but even Cinder's getting frustrated, and she's at her wit's end, and almost she's cracked on her own. And I just like seeing Neo have that moment where she's just like, no, I'm not doing this. Like, I want to get Ruby. Like, I want my revenge.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
I think-
I think she'll end up throwing that away at the end of the day to do what's right.
I don't know. I think Neo. I mean, Neo is clearly only working with Cinder so long as it helps Neo, right?
I
As long
think
as it
Neo-
gets her what she
Neo
wants.
also probably wants a world to live in afterwards, so I'm sure that she'll go, okay, save the world or don't save the world.
I don't
Kind of
think
pretty-
Neo is gonna do what's right. I think Neo's gonna do what's in Neo's best interest.
And
Okay,
and
I'm
having
She
a world
essentially
to live
went
in
into that.
is-
She essentially went into that. Like at least the vibe I got from the Cinder versus Neo fight in Volume 6. Like
Mhm.
I don't think Neo was planning on walking away from that fight. It was kind of more or less, I'm taking you with me,
Mhm.
like as
Yeah.
revenge. So I don't necessarily think that Neo's even necessarily planning on surviving this. I think she's just planning on taking as many of the people she hates with her as possible.
I don't think she was going in that fight planning to die. I think she was planning on going in that
Well,
fight.
no,
to give
I'm not
Cinder
saying
just
planning to
desserts.
die, but I'm saying that it like planning for the worst is if I'm going down, you're coming with me.
Mhm.
Do you think then it's going to be Neo maybe who because we were speculating, all right, they mentioned that the only thing keeping the city afloat is the staff of creation, so obviously they're going to like, switch it over to the tower and the city's going to fall and crush. Do you think Neo's going to be the one to do that in an attempt to like this is her betrayal of
Cinder.
Cinder?
I could definitely see that happening. I actually think that would be I actually think that would be great, having Neo be the reason why Salem's plan falls apart, because up until this point we've seen like Salem is basically like everything she does is basically perfect. The one kind of wrench in everything that she does is Cinder. Cinder is the one who is constantly imperfect. And Cinder bringing in Neo, unbeknownst to Salem's knowledge, right? Like, that would definitely be something that Salem didn't plan for, and that wild card could bring down the whole operation. And I think it would be.
As
I think
far
it would
as
be- I think
as
it would
far
fit
as
the
we
pattern.
know.
I think it would totally fit the pattern of like, man, it almost worked if it wasn't for Cinder and her meddling fuck ups.
So I imagine this though. I really think that we have to remember that the only person who can open the vault is the Winter Maiden. That's not anyone can pick up the relic. You don't have to be the maiden to pick up the relic or use it. That's been established. Anyone can use the lamp. You just have to have the right person to open the door to get to it. So I'm curious to see, Beau. This was also on your bingo cards about each of the relics having that attached personality. Like the lamp had Jin. What's to say the relic of creation doesn't have something?
Yeah, like a persona.
You guys,
Yeah,
as
it
Beau,
probably
can
does.
you please post your bingo card on your Twitter, because it is literally. I bet
did.
you. Okay, good. 'Cause
I want RT to be sweating. Are you kidding?
So
I
if
want
you
them to
guys,
be like, who is this bitch?
Beau from KRWBY on Twitter is Beau's handle. Go check out their card because it's scary. Because Beau is really good at predicting shit.
I'll retweet it again so it's there,
Okay.
like at the
The
top.
the only thing I would add to that bingo card is Salem turning into a dragon in the final fight. That's the only thing I would add.
What is this, Fire Emblem?
What is
No,
this,
it's
Maleficent?
freaking Maleficent. That's what it is.
Okay, fair enough.
So,
We're at about like the hour and a half mark right now. We need
yeah,
to
I
get
was
into
about-
predictions.
You want to do?
Well, no, I
wrap
think
up,
we've already kind of been through predictions already.
Have we really?
I think
I
he's
have a
gonna
couple.
die.
I have a
I
couple.
have no idea what's gonna happen
Everyone
this
dies.
season.
All right,
That's my
let's go
prediction.
through. Let's go through predictions here.
Brian, you first.
Me first.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Ironwood was the one who was going after Oscar. I think Neo is a wild card. I definitely think that Neo is gonna go back on her agreement with Cinder, because Cinder is no longer upholding hers. Neo's only in it for RWBY. And I predict that Team RWBY is going to have a baller fight with the Aesops.
Ooh, yes, that'll be
And
cool.
also, I'll predict as well that Winter is going to initially want to follow Ironwood's orders, but the robot girl is going to convince her otherwise.
Because I have to go soon. I'm gonna steal
No,
part of. I'm
no.
gonna. What?
You have the best predictions. You should go last.
No, I'm stealing. My only actual prediction for this next episode has to do with the Aesop's fight. I mean, if you want to see my predictions for the rest of the season, then go to my Twitter and look at my bingo card, because that's literally every prediction I have. However, something that's not on that card, which I wholeheartedly agree with, is actually one of Sunny T's predictions, is I think that Marrow is going to
Oh, I was
use his
gonna say that.
semblance on the Aesops and stop
Yeah.
them and let Team RWBY get away.
I was gonna say
He's-
that. See, this is where I wanted to go.
Fuck you.
He's definitely the weak. Like you see him in this whole situation. He's just looking down at his feet the whole time, being like, I don't feel comfortable
Yeah.
with any
Well,
of this.
He
They
looks
also-
like Emerald looked at the end of Volume 3, like, oh, this is not what I
So-
signed up for.
Really quick, they also point out that Marrow is the oddball out. He acts too much like a quote kid, and that they have to babysit him. So I think he's very much in the same heart and vein that Team RWBY's emotions lie. So I think, relates to them a lot and likes that dynamic, likes that friendship. So, and even I feel like Elm kind of falls in that territory a little bit. Like, she's saying, "Oh, you don't question orders," but at the same time, she loves and cares about them already. So I think she's also conflicted a little bit. But Harriet and Vine are like, "Nah, man, go fuck them." So I don't know. I think I'm gonna steal the show for a minute and say that I think that Winter might die. I don't want to say that she will, because I think Winter is definitely at risk. I think that Neo's gonna betray them and kind of hop the fence just because, yeah, it's Neo. I think, like you said, Marrow. I think Marrow is going to betray the Aesop so they can get away, and I really, really think Winter is going to be conflicted about Ironwood. I think Ironwood's going to die. I think we're going to lose some people this season.
I
on
think
both
Ironwood's
sides of
going to
the
kill
fence.
himself. To be completely
That's-
honest,
I thought he was going to kill himself in this episode, and I was like, would they do
The
that?
fact-
Would
the
Rooster
fact that
Teeth
there have
a
been,
character
like,
commit suicide.
2 separate times in the last like 4 episodes that I've been like, I think Ironwood's going to kill himself, and then he hasn't yet. I'm just kind of like,
I think
Okay.
that would be some really gray territory. Like, I know Salem like tried to kill herself, but she couldn't die, so it's kind of like, whatever. She tried to stab herself, but
well,
I
she
literally
didn't
thought,
know that trying to kill herself wouldn't work.
I
Well,
know,
right,
but
It was
the
actively
story
trying
writing.
to. It was kind of one of those like, well, haven't tried this yet. Maybe it'll work. Like, she literally, the whole reason she became the Grim Queen was because she was trying to kill herself. Like, that's just how it be.
Yeah. So I think we are gonna lose some people. I think this is the 3rd season in the arc. It looks kind of like, I don't know if we're like still following that, but Volume 3 was the big one. I guess
Well, no, this is
number 4,
this
huh?
is the number 1 again.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So-
This is the beginning of the Atlas arc, but we didn't have a whole lot of people die. All right, never mind.
so
Scratch
after
that
this,
theory. But-
when we're done streaming, I want to talk to you guys. So I can't say it on stream. We gonna talk.
But yeah,
Any
I
other
think.
predictions.
Uh-oh.
My bingo card. I linked it in the chat.
There you go.
I
Yeah,
think
I agree with
okay.
everything on that bingo card.
Ken says we'll never lose any of the main cast. I just want to point out Pyrrha and Penny, but Penny came back. Pyrrha was important. I think she was, obviously we're introduced to both teams early on. I think that
You lost a part of Yang.
yeah, and Blake got impaled. So I really
Yeah.
think that RWBY's gonna die by the
and
end of
Weiss
the
got
whole
impaled
series.
too.
God dang. People are gonna
They
die.
just like hurting people.
They just I don't think
Beau
we're
is-
gonna lose
Beau's
any
good.
of the main
Hmm.
crew. I think obvious death flags for Winter if she like inherits the power of the Winter Maiden, especially. I wouldn't be surprised actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, okay, crazy prediction. If Neo is going to be the one to like drop the city on Mantle, what if the Penny that we see in that scene is actually Neo? Because we saw Cinder already there. That means Neo's already there, and Winter like runs into the building immediately. Like Penny was still flying out to Atlas.
But they also, she
What
got
if that-
paged and said affirmative, turned around and blasted back, and it was just as quick was back up on Atlas.
Oh.
Yeah, the
I-
flying is pretty. She was there pretty quickly.
All right, maybe not, but I don't know. I just feel like how is Neo gonna get like maybe Neo will get the Winter Maiden power, and that's how she'll open the use.
What if,
I don't know. Whatever.
what if Neil finally says something and it's like, go fuck yourself?
Okay.
But yeah, we're gonna lose some people. Death flags Winter, Death flags Crow. Honestly, Death flags Penny as well. And I think we were talking about it a little earlier with like Ruby's character development and how Brian over here was hoping that it lasts more than 2 seconds.
Yep.
I would agree with that. I think maybe the thing that will snap her out of it might be some of her friends and folks dying. And she realizes that, oh shoot, I if I
I don't get to
snap
be
out of this,
sad.
I have to be the rallying flag again. I have to like activate
I
my
can't
superpowers.
believe I'm gonna die.
And we've seen her activate superpowers really, really to like pause time and freeze a dragon only at the moment of someone she really cares about dying. So
Why do people keep going back to, quote, Salem can't be killed? That's not what Jin said!
Salem.
The question was, how do I defeat Salem? Asked by Ozma's life at that point.
You
Yeah.
Like, they never said that she can't be killed. They have never once said that she can't be killed.
that's the implication,
Well,
but the question was poorly worded.
So I think what it's kind of really quick to note on that is that they say that Salem is immortal because of how the gods have cursed her. And it's not that I do think Salem can't be killed, at least in the current state of things, unless you bring the gods back or whatever, hoopla. They'd have to do something to get involved. I think she,
Mhm.
however, can be petrified, much like the Leviathan. She's
Oh,
not as
shit.
strong and burly and brusque as the Leviathan to where he can bust out. I think she could get frozen and stuck there for all eternity.
Well,
I
I don't
also
think
have
it's
a
I don't
really
think it's a burliness question. It's like a strength of.
I have a really funny
Character
headcanon or like theory is that, you know, like the 2 times.
Can we save the theory till we're off the air?
No, it's
No.
about what we're talking about.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's about Salem and the fact that she's this, you know, scary person. Anyways, so it's funny because the 2 times that we've seen her appear before, you know, before Team RWBY and everything, she's been this massive, like 30-foot tall, looming being. Imagine when they show up finally to Evernight Castle and like they walk into the throne room and she's just this 5'6" tall like chick, and they're just like, wow, you are a lot shorter than I thought you would be. Not as scary as you could have been. Award goes to Salem.
It'd be a good
That's
quip.
my theory there.
I do want to say
Is that a Nora line? Maybe.
thank you
All right.
guys for having
Yeah,
me
all right,
this
that
fine
was-
evening.
Yeah, so I wanted to go ahead and close it out here. Thank you guys so much for watching. It was kind of a long and goofy one because some of us were mildly intoxicated. We should also, if you haven't checked out our last episode was from ALA. You can see some of our faces,
Yeah.
which is crazy. Whoa, and also the audio isn't out of sync, which is awesome.
Mhm.
But yeah, and hopefully we should have some other stuff coming out from ALA at some point. Maybe, I don't know if it'll be on the main channel. Maybe some Patreon stuff. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. We're gonna be back next week with Chapter 12. It should be fun. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Perpetually jar on Tuesday.